What did I eat? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna pay you so you can pay me so I can. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Cause this is my United States or whatever. And this is my United States or whatever.
Welcome everyone to what is today? I don't even know. Today's let's call it August 18th because when people listen to this, it'll most likely be that date.
Yes.
We have a big show tonight. We have a lot to discuss. I guess let's go ahead and jump on in. What happened this past week was a show in Germany called Gamescom in the gaming world, and
Wait.
what?
Wait. That's Don, and I'm Justin. Just,
Oh, hi. I'm Don. That's Justin. Welcome to whatever. By the way, we have a new Twitter account for the show. You should go follow immediately before we get into Gamescom. It's at whatever podcast. WHATEVA because the ER one was taken already. So, but yeah, go follow it. Go follow it. I know. They don't even use it anymore. I think the last tweet was from like 2012 or something. I was like, you bastards. Anyway, so go sign up and follow us there because
ask us questions.
I try to keep it going. So anyway, and that'll fall off in a couple months. I'm just kidding. All right. So Gamescom happened this past week, and at it, one of the things that what were we gonna start with? Was it that? I don't even remember. Yeah.
It's
what
Tomb Raider.
You want to start with the Tomb Raider thing?
I was gonna say jump right into Tomb Raider.
Okay, so the Tomb Raider thing, what he's talking about is this past week. The Rise of the Tomb Raider game, which was previously announced multi-platform?
I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, if it wasn't, it was kind of just expected.
It was assumed. I know. I didn't know if they actually confirmed it was multi-platform and then kind of did what they did because that would be that I could understand why people get upset about that.
I mean, I just remember it was like, Laura, you've killed a lot of people. You're not going to get over it right away.
And scene. So, but yeah. Anyway, what he's talking about is Microsoft. It has exclusivity over Rise of the Tomb Raider for holiday season of 2015. What I don't like, what news came out after that is that it's cross-gen. I don't like that at all. That means they said it's exclusive to the Xbox, not only Xbox One. That means it's also going to the Xbox 360. That's what really made me mad about the news. But so a lot of people are upset because the first one, the remake of the first one came out on all kinds of platforms, right? It came out on the PS3, 360, PC. Mm-hmm. And this time it's not coming out on PS4, PS3, PC. So that segment of people, especially after they just re-released the game on the next-gen consoles, right? And I think the definitive edition of Tomb Raider sold best on PS4.
Yes,
there's a lot of people that are kind of feeling left out here, understandably, because they are being left out. So what are your thoughts on the whole exclusivity?
Okay, so first off, I want to play the world's smallest violin for all those that are upset. But no, look, I mean, to break it down realistically, I do understand, like, if you only have the one system and you're like, hey, that sold the best on the PlayStation 4, the last one you remade, it's kind of like, it's kind of like, hey, what gives? But at the same time, the industry's in an interesting spot, and especially Xbox being behind the Sony in terms of sales and stuff, I can see why they're trying to get a somewhat of a jump on stuff. Now, the thing is people say, oh, I hate this and this and this and this, but if they have an Xbox and they really want to play Tomb Raider, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna go buy it. If it's only on during the holiday, they're probably gonna buy it. And if they don't have an Xbox, they're probably gonna wait till it comes out and they're gonna buy it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Is I think at one point in time, platform exclusivity, this kind of deal. First of all, let me say I don't think this is a type of game that's going to move a lot of systems. Just
no, I don't
personally,
either.
I don't think a lot of people are going to buy an Xbox One for Rise of the Tomb Raider, which makes me kind of wonder if it was really a good move on Microsoft's part because of that. But the other thing is, I think the time has gone. It's passed already where people didn't understand that it would be coming to other platforms, and I think people are expecting it at this point. And I just don't think platform exclusivity for third-party publishers on a well-known franchise like this, where it's expected that it'll be going multi-platform, I don't think exclusivity is a very a very good thing to invest in anymore because
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't work as well as it used to.
no, it doesn't.
People understand now. It's what time exclusivity is. They didn't know before. That was kind of a new concept,
But
and
here's
now
the thing
it's
too. With the new systems comes new development costs, and they've actually pretty much skyrocketed
right,
with all the new development costs of the graphics and all that stuff and bigger teams. I mean, games were made with like 5 people back in the day.
right.
Now you've got Ubisoft who's like, we hire 500 people. So
Thousand. There's over a
yeah,
thousand
I
worked
know
on
it's
AC4.
ridiculous. But the thing is okay. So say Microsoft gave them a lump sum of money, and from what I saw in a tweet, supposedly they are helping them to develop it
Yes,
somewhat.
that's what they
So
say.
if that's the case, I mean, we won't ever know how much money that they probably gave them,
Right.
but ultimately, it must have been something good for them to want to
Oh,
do this.
I've no question about that. Especially like what you're saying with how budgets have skyrocketed
Mm-hmm.
lately. There has to be a huge sum of money, and it has to be absolutely worth it for Square Enix to even
Yes.
consider this deal.
And the thing
Good.
is people said, well, it didn't sell that well to begin with. How much the original they wanted,
Yeah.
but if they made a big lump sum here and they're using their money wisely, they might recoup the amount or reach the amount they want now
Right.
with just like the minor sales of the Xbox One version. Then they'll consider everything else like a bonus. I mean, we don't know the numbers or the crunching here, but I'm telling you right now, if they agree to this, it's good. Like for them.
It's got to be a lot of money that they shelled
Yes.
out. So basically, our thoughts are this isn't such a bad thing. Um,
Nah.
as far as the outrage goes and stuff like that, it's understandable, but it's not the biggest deal in the world because
No.
I think in the end we're all pretty confident it's still coming to multiple platforms, right?
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, it's even if it wasn't, it's one of those things. It's like, hey, it's like if you don't got the system, you can't play the game. It's just it is what it is.
So if you want to play Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, sorry, the Tomb Raider with the Batman title.
Yes.
If you want to play Rise of the Tomb Raider or the Tomb Raider Rises, go get an Xbox One and shut up. And that's pretty much it. No,
Pretty much.
or just wait 6 months and you'll get the definitive edition on PS4. Twice the frame
Yeah.
rate. No, So anyway, that's I mean, what can you do? That's the whole thing, What can you do? You can't do anything, so deal with it. You can see Phil Spencer with his sunglasses dropping down from the top of the screen. Deal with it. Whatever. So other
But
news
back
that
to
came out of Gamescom.
yeah.
Other German news that came out of Gamescom. Nothing. Like nothing is like German centric about the show. It's basically like E3 two.
Yeah.
You know what I
Really.
mean? Like it's becoming. I kind of hope it kind of takes over for E3 personally because I like my goal is to be covering E3 at some point for somebody, and I'd rather go to Germany. I'll be honest. Like
Or
that'd
go
be
or just go to both.
that'd be a cooler trip though to Germany
Oh,
than
I
to
agree.
just. And the other thing I like about Gamescom, it's open to the public. That's really cool. They let people come off the streets and play everything. That's pretty cool.
Dude, you're
E3's
Cloud. Come on
E3's
in.
press only. When I went to E3 in 2010, they wouldn't let you can get in if you're general public, but you have to pay like $400 for the week.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
ridiculous.
So but anyway, more news that came out of Gamescom. And I think it's pretty cool. If you have a PS4, there's a demo called PT, and nobody knew what it was when it launched. Right? It had like an unknown studio attached to it. It doesn't obviously have a name. It's just initialed, so nobody really had any idea what it was until while playing it. Some British girl was playing it on a Twitch stream, and she stumbled upon, ta-da! It's a teaser for a new Silent Hill game, and it stars Norman Reedus is that his name?
Yeah, Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, who plays Daryl.
Daryl.
Uh, Number one, I don't think this is going to be that scary of a game because he always has a crossbow. Um, no, the other thing is it's produced by, I guess it's going to be directed by, maybe co-directed? I don't know. But Hideo Kojima from Metal Gear Solid and
Mm-hmm.
Guillermo del Toro, which is
Yes.
interesting because I'm sure this has been discussed to death, but I've stayed out of the thread for PT because I didn't want to be spoiled. But uh, is this what Insane turned into? Maybe.
I think that Insane got canceled or whatever, and I think
Yeah,
that he still wanted to do something in the horror genre, and I think
obviously.
Kojima probably knew that and it maybe talked to him about stuff before and was like, "Hey, your one thing
He
got
was
kind
like,
of canned."
hey, your awesome direction, my 50-hour cutscenes.
Yeah,
No, but sorry, I just think Kojima's games are a little bloated. That's all.
I know.
But it's fine. But yeah, it's interesting though. Like I guess what you're saying is it's not insane per se, but it's it's an extension of that. It's like the next kind of evolutionary thing, right? That he could have done was a Silent Hill game, I guess, because and a new IP is tough to launch nowadays, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
hard to launch if it's not Watch Dogs, So instead of selling or starting a new IP, why not just go with one that needs honestly kind of a fresh reboot,
Yeah,
So I
I
guess
agree. And
two and two make four. So there you go.
I mean,
Looky
I
there.
think honestly, the bigger thing is that there's never been a new game announced this way, and I
That's
think
true
it's
too. Yeah,
absolutely genius marketing.
and I think
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure PT stands for playable teaser.
Yes.
You find out in the credits at the end it says Silent Hill playable teaser. Silent Hills, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And the S doesn't pop up until the very, very end of it. Is it supposed to be kind of like a five? I don't know.
Well,
Anyway,
the thing is some people were kind of, kind of trying to guess that, and they
is
were
it
saying maybe there's like multiple versions
is
since the
there
whole like game has the repeating.
is there another hill?
Maybe it's like, hey, they should have called it Silent Rolling Hills.
Silent Rolling Hills. Well, for those of you who haven't played the PT demo, because you don't have a PS4, there's probably a lot of people out there that honestly don't have a PS4 yet. It's pretty cool. I played through half of it or so today before I went to work. It's basically it's just a first person kind of walkthrough of a hallway, right? And
Really?
you just walk you just walk through a hallway and then you go through the door at the end of the hall and then you end up back at the beginning of the hallway again and it just kind of loops over and over and um each time you go through something happens or something changes slightly and then eventually like things start changing more dramatically and then I think there's like a pattern of stuff you're supposed to do and it's
Yeah,
kind of a
right at the end it gets really cryptic and
yeah, it was tough for me. Like I didn't know what on earth to do. There's no really there's no tutorial for controls or anything either, so you have to kind of fumble with controls and
yeah.
stuff. But um, it got me one good time. You know what time I'm talking about. What part I'm talking about that made me jump.
Honestly, I don't know because there's a few
Oh,
parts different
well,
people jump at.
there was okay. Well, I don't. That was one of the things I watched a walkthrough. I showed some people at work a walkthrough of it, and in the walkthrough, some stuff happened that I didn't do, like
Yeah.
some different stuff. So I guess it's kind of dynamic, or there's multiple paths you can take, not multiple paths, but multiple outcomes you can have because
Hmm.
different things are interactive. But one of the things that I did was I went over and I there's a phone that's off the hook, and I looked down and I think I clicked the left stick or something. I was just kind of messing with buttons, seeing if anything happened, and all of a sudden, literally, this woman like just appears out of nowhere in my face, and like kills me, and I jumped. I just went, oh Jesus! Like it really made me jump. And you hear this like crunching noise, like she's breaking your neck or something, and then you fall to the ground, and then I woke up in a room, and there's a table next to me, and there was a bloody bag on the table, and then the bloody bag started moving, and
Yeah. Talking to
yeah, there
you.
were voices and stuff, and I was like, okay. And then I just walked out the door back into that hallway again, and then everything turned red, and all these eyes appeared in all the paintings and started looking at me, and looked
And
like
then
I
you turn the
was
system off.
on acid. Yeah, it was really weird. And that was a point where I just literally went through the hallway, like because at that point there's no more doors at the end of the hallway. It's just one looping hallway, and it just looped forever. And I was okay. I gotta go to work, so I'm just gonna leave here and watch the ending on YouTube. So, but no, you can read like there's a walkthrough people are attempting to put online because it's still not really known exactly what to do in order to progress. It's
Yeah,
still
to
kind of
trigger the end.
so um, it's still kind of a guessing game as far as that goes. But some of the stuff I saw was like Justin said, really cryptic. It was really out there. I would probably have never have guessed. And people still aren't sure. Like there's like a laughing baby apparently at some point toward the end, and in order to get it triggered to trigger the second laugh or something, you have to do something, and people were speculating you might have to have a headset and a microphone or something to even beat
But
it.
you don't.
You don't, so I don't know. So it's really cool though. Like Justin said, it's never been done before. This type of teaser. And I think Kojima was hoping for it to take a week for somebody to
Yeah,
figure
that's what he
out,
said.
and it only took him. It took him like a few hours. So I guess that kind of spoiled it for him. He's like, "Damn it! All right, fine, yeah,
Yeah.
that was
He's
me."
like, too good, too good.
But yeah, I like the overall mood and tone of where it was going, and
Yeah, it's just
hopefully
it's almost photorealistic in the
that
hallway with the
too.
lighting.
It looks really great. So hopefully though it's multi-platform because I don't like exclusives from third parties. And
And supposedly they downgraded the graphics to make
really,
it look more indie, they said.
what? Okay,
Yeah.
photorealistic is downgraded from what?
Uh,
Um. So anyway,
real life.
yeah, I guess. And it's is that made in
We
Fox
made this
Engine?
hallway
Did they
out
say it
of a
was Fox
set.
Engine?
Yeah, it's using the Fox
It
engine.
is okay. That makes sense then. And yes, anyway, it has a really atmospheric approach, which is great because Silent Hill they've tried several different iterations throughout the franchise's history. With Homecoming being more action oriented and you know uh, Shattered Memories not even having combat. So who knows where this is going to go? But I liked it. So speaking of moody and atmospheric, let's kind of shift gears here. I reviewed a movie earlier this week for Bloody Disgusting called The Midnight Game that you can find in Redbox. I found it in Redbox. I rent the movies myself and I buy them myself. For anybody listening, Bloody Disgusting does not send me any copies. I like to, you know, I like to find them and spend my own money on them because if I feel ripped off at the end of it, then I can kind of throw that into the review. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
anyways, if you get something for free, then it's kind of you don't really factor the cost of it into a review if you're doing it. I feel so. I'm not that I wouldn't take things for free, but. So this movie though, it stars. Let's see, I believe it stars Guy Wilson, and it was directed. It says written and directed by Adi Calvo, but he says he just did some story ideas, and there was actually a script writer. I think he said Rick Dahl. So earlier tonight, Justin and I actually got to speak to the film's writer slash director, as he's credited, and the film's composer. And here's that interview. Calling in right now, we have special guests. We have Adi Calvo and Joe Carano, the writer director, right?
Yeah, I was actually I worked on the story and screenplay written for me by Rick Dahl.
Okay, so you worked on the story, but you directed the Midnight Game, correct?
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
I just reviewed it for Bloody Disgusting this past week. It came out on Tuesday, right? I think it was on DVD.
Yeah, yeah, August 12th. That's correct.
Okay, and Joe, you were the film's composer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's awesome. So, thanks for joining us. First of all,
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be part of it.
let me go ahead and ask you guys. So, Adi, what was the mindset? Who came up with the film concept first of all?
Actually, my son Brett was scouring the internet for ideas and was
Really?
reading urban legends and creepypasta stories,
Yeah.
and told me that this would make a good film, he thought. So I kind of talked it over with Rick, and then we kicked the story back and forth for a while, and ended up with a first draft of a screenplay. Now we continued to work on it for a while.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw one of the people that commented on the review actually said they think creepypastas are a great kind of gold mine, untapped gold mine, if you will, of ideas for
Yeah,
for
definitely.
movies
There's some
because
really eerie stuff out there.
it's a lot of messed up people that like to write random things. Yeah,
Yeah, for free.
exactly. Was it you that came up with the characters and the story idea, the overall kind of?
What I did is I knew a lot of the constraints that we would have going into production, and I actually had the house picked out before I even knew what the story was.
Oh, did you really? That's cool.
Yeah, it was an old house that was the owner reached out to me they knew I had been making movies in the area, so they wanted me to come out and check out the house. And I went and looked at it, and it was really creepy and really kind of visually inspiring, I thought. And so I had the house picked out. Knew I wanted to do a young ensemble kind of horror film that took place in a house and was contained in that sense. Um, so then, coupled, with the Midnight Game idea, that was online from talked the story over with Rick, and I liked the repetitive cycle aspects of the story, and that there's a lot of doppelgangers
Mm-hmm.
um, within the story as well. So those were kind of woven in there as well, and also a creature. I wanted a good devil-like creature for the Midnight Man.
Right. The whole pagan aspect to it, right? The whole pagan tradition aspect of the
Yeah.
creepy pasta. Yeah, that worked in nicely. I like the whole aspect that you approached it with more of an atmospheric approach instead
Oh,
of
thank you. Yeah, I love
yeah.
I love '70s horror films that were mostly atmospheric. As I think back, and I definitely like that nostalgic feel. So
Right.
I'll continue to kind of do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think sometimes the things you don't see or the things that are left up to the imagination can be far scarier than what's literally thrown in your face sometimes.
Yeah, and far friendlier to low budget.
That's true. Joe, what was your approach with the musical side of things, with knowing that it was a more atmospheric kind of movie? How does that factor into composing?
Well, it's funny because we have an inside joke between the two of us because we've known each other for a long time, AD and myself. And I always go back to I'm a dirty and grungy guy, and it kind of just kind of you have to look at your dark side when you do any kind of atmospheric thing, especially for like a horror film of this nature and everything like that. And I just knew that the way that the pace of the film was going, it was always accelerating by the time you get to the end. And if you notice, the score kind of starts off really slowly
Mm-hmm.
and pick up and pick up and pick up until you finally get to the end. And it just kind of it was one of those things that's really like ethereal, I guess would be the word.
You did. You're right. You played with the time mapping on the melody
Yeah.
quite a bit. So yeah, we went to high school together, Joe and I.
No kidding.
So
That's cool.
Joe had scored all my films, and we're actually the
Huh.
reason why we're together today is because we're working on the score for a film we just shot over the summer. So yeah, so it's good. It's music is such a big part of the feel of a film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
Especially horror films, and it's like so. Yeah, I
That can
love
make or break it.
totally. So I love the piano stuff, Joe. Uh,
Yeah, that was one of the things I really enjoyed about the soundtrack, Joe, was the just the kind of ambience it had. It wasn't really in your face most of the time. It just kind of accompanied everything and kind of instead of taking over, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the big secret. But a lot of things I've seen kind of step on dialogue and you
Mm-hmm.
know scares too obvious by like accenting too much. But if you stay out of the way and you make the movie shine, your job is done.
Now that you mentioned the kind of repetitive nature of the whole thing, it kind of Groundhog Day-ish in a way. Um,
oh yeah.
Now that you mention it, though, thinking back to the soundtrack, that loop, the piano loop, kind of playing like when they're walking in the woods and things like that. That kind of comes into play now in my head. I'm thinking back to that, so that's kind of cool that you guys are on the same page like that.
It changes though. You like get a different version of it throughout.
Yeah,
It gets like a minor. It goes even more.
yeah. The melody changes throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes major, sometimes minor, depending upon the time. And then we kind of completely meld into the ending score. I kind of have like two different parts because when they end and they figure out that they're like trapped in the game and everything like that,
Mm-hmm.
it disappears, and then it just like completely picks up from there.
I respect the fact you went for the kind of thinking man's ending too, 80, instead of just kind of, you know, finishing it just kind of black and white, like a lot of directors and writers do.
Oh, thank you. I love ambiguous endings.
Yeah,
I,
that's
It's
apparent.
great. It's great to hear that. Yeah.
it's a tricky thing because sometimes people feel like you can cheated them or you didn't give them complete closure. But with in this particular case, you can't have closure because of that loop kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I feel that that's still an ending.
I think closure leads to no discussion, whereas open ended or leading into things can get people talking and keep the movie on the brain or the story.
Totally, totally, and it has this recursive quality. The story, and I like recursion in films. I was a software engineer before I went into filmmaking, and recursion always threw me for a loop in programming, and the ability of programs to call themselves and be recursive in that nature. The story does that, and as the one we're currently working on now, it's not a horror film. It's kind of a recursive plot. We had a good time making that film. The cast was super to work with, and we all had, they don't all go that way,
Hmm.
and they got really lucky with this one. It's just a fun time.
When you guys shot it in Connecticut? Is that correct?
Yep, yep,
Is that where you guys are from?
yep, yeah. We have grown up in this area. I was born in Argentina and then lived in Brazil for a few years, but for the most part, I've been in Connecticut
Okay.
my
Yeah,
whole adult life.
it's beautiful scenery up there. The whole tone of the film was kind of set also by the I guess by the DP, whoever that was. Um,
Yeah,
the the
Una was great. I
mhm.
found her through a friend, and she was originally a watercolor painter,
No kidding.
and she had this great sense of light. So we really connected on um, like she knew that I wanted the house to be really flooded in moonlight and
Yeah.
lit dramatically, and to do the candlelight in a dark house is going to be a challenge too. So combining that yellow and blue. Um, so we just she really responded to that, the lighting, and to a lot of the shots that I wanted to get. So we worked great together.
How did you guys decide on who to cast in the leads? Did you guys have any ideas of who
Yeah,
you wanted?
I worked with my casting director Kelly Lerner on that, and we did a lot of auditions for that
Really?
film. Um, yeah, we kept auditioning a lot of actors and actresses, and Shane Guy Wilson auditioned early. He was an early favorite, and just I was kind of I liked him from the beginning, and again, like all those kids were awesome, really easy to work with.
It seemed like they had a lot of good chemistry together. Like they actually
Yeah,
worked well.
that helps so much that they all got along like that.
I can imagine that's not always the case.
No, I'm not naming any films or names, but I can tell you it's not always the case.
Now, the runtime of the movie is actually 74 minutes.
Yeah.
Was there a longer cut, or did you keep it shorter to keep the pacing going consistently?
I wanted to do a short film. I wanted to, to me, Academy-wise, it features over 40 minutes. From Netflix point of view, it's over 60 minutes. And I had seen a couple films that had run times in the 70s. I think Ills, which was the film that was the foreign version of The Strangers, I think, that Liv Tyler film.
Yeah, yeah.
Was filmed in Budapest. I think, if I remember correctly, that was pretty short. So I wanted to keep it short, and I thought that this generation, I think the attention span is a little low, and I don't mean any disrespect by that, but
No,
It's true.
I think you're dead on. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. You're dead on.
I think that movies are probably going to be a trend to shorter kind of films, especially at lower budgets. When you shoot a shorter movie, you can shoot less pages per day and focus on quality a little bit more than trying to shoot 90-page script uh, in 20 days. It's always a challenge. There's a
Oh
couple
well.
beats in it. They're never done once you bake it,
Yeah.
and still some stuff obviously that could be. If I watch it, I'm like, oh, that could have been shorter. And
I think it's anybody that creates anything. It's like, oh, I could have done
yeah,
that different or better. Oh,
yeah, like the woods walk, I always kind of like watch now, and I'm like, we made that a little longer than it needed to, but I guess it's kind of cool now. The walk in the woods part, I like the story there. So
I was gonna say though, most people I think are under the impression that movies are shot, over three month periods or so, because the major motion pictures are. But you
yeah,
guys, yeah, the more indie guys shoot in a couple 3 weeks, right?
right. So about this one was about 20 days, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Um,
That's about as long as it took to shoot Halloween, I think.
yeah, I think Kubrick shot The Shining
Yeah.
in 9 months.
Right. Exactly.
wow! I just watched that
Well,
last night too.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
and it's like amazing, like to you're asking for a miracle to kind of in 20 days.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of
The fact that you can take all those everybody combined and get get something done in that amount
Yeah,
of
no
time
kidding, and get
is a feat.
everyone on the same page and getting along. What do you guys? What are some of your favorite horror movies? That's kind of a typical question, but we got to know.
my two favorites are Rosemary's Baby and The Shining.
Okay,
And
cool.
to me, those are like two really big bars that are few films even come close. But they're both atmospheric.
Right.
They're not full of gore, and so I kind of just like that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I'd say those are my two favorites. I don't know if Joe watches too many horror films.
Yeah, you guys would kill me because I'm a sci-fi guy.
Oh, are you really? What are you?
Yeah.
What's some of your favorite stuff? Sci-fi.
Well, just about anything.
Yeah.
Yes, kind of grew up on all the Star Trek, Star Wars things. Still sit there and watch the classic Episode 4 Star Wars.
So what's it like not really being a big horror guy scoring a horror film? What is that like? What kind of approach do you take?
Um, well, when it really comes down to it, atmosphere is atmosphere.
Right.
You know,
But I make them watch a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna sit down. You're gonna watch.
I was gonna
this.
say because his stuff was kind of a little bit reminiscent of John Carpenter's stuff. It kind of made me think of Halloween with the piano riff and it being kind of repetitious and stuff like that. So it was just kind of interesting. I figured that might be some of your inspiration, but you're not really a horror guy.
yeah, we might have. I actually don't remember if we watched anything. I mean, did we? I think we played a little bit of The Shining.
Mhm.
Yeah, we always go back to that.
But that's kind of like I'm a very big vintage synth guy. I love all the old
Okay.
synthesizers from years ago and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll always go back to that and see how that works, and then I end up trashing it because it doesn't work now. But just the feel for those things, kind of bring me into the moment to do whatever we need to do for the current film.
Interesting.
You know. I can't actually say what would be the connection.
So you do it in the synth instrumentation, and then you change it to more modern instrumentation. Is that what you're saying? Okay, I see what you're saying.
A lot of times, you want to try to find a nice recurring, like that piano riff, for instance.
Right.
That was easy because it's something that does loop a lot. But even with more traditional score, you want to try to find an underlying theme,
Mhm.
that you get out, and you have to kind of basically do 5 themes throughout the entire movie and kind of interweave them in order to bring up different characters and stuff like that.
We work closely, obviously, with our editor, Michael Taylor.
Yeah.
In terms of like cueing music. So oftentimes when I'm working with Michael, we'll use a temp track. So we'll take music from some horror films that during early cuts and lay in some temp music. I'm trying to think what we did for Midnight Game. I think we might have been using music from Dario Argento.
Oh, cool.
In early cuts. I don't even remember, but we always do that. It's just find scores to old films that have inspired kind of and have a similar tone. So it's just to give you some kind of rhythm when you're editing.
Right.
Yeah, that's always good to hear the score, as it were, too.
It doesn't become a hard template, but it's a template.
Right.
You get a starting a conversation going.
What other stuff are you guys working on? I'm looking at your IMDb here, but
I shot a film called Well, I'm actually here scoring some of it with Joe, called The Missing Girl, and it's my first non-horror film, although it's got definite uh, aspects of genre in it. It's about a guy that owns a comic book shop and is convinced that the girl that had been working for him, that something bad happened to her. Um, but nothing bad happened to her. We know that all along. He doesn't. And my producer on it's Mike Ryan, um, who's done a lot of films, non-horror films, but a lot of films that I respond to a lot. And Mike, um, so it's kind of a collaboration with Mike. Um, so that's kind of nice for a change. I think I'll be able to return to genre with it's a character-driven story,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like none of the horror films I've done have been character-driven.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after this drama, I get this done, I can go back and do something that's character-driven, like again Rosemary's Baby or The Shining, where it's not so much about plot, where
Right.
uh,
Okay.
it's more about watching real people behave in real ways and react to creepy stuff.
Interesting. So, are you thinking?
And not,
Would you go? Would you go for maybe like a? Trying to think of a specific example. Something like Midnight Game. Obviously, is kind of supernatural. Would you go for
yeah.
something more like kind of like a human-oriented horror? Kind of like a psychotic person or something like that.
No, no, I actually don't I don't know why. I'm not like a big fan of the. I never watch like those kinds of films. I think it would probably still be supernatural, but maybe more like uh, um, a slow unraveling of character, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but um, maybe somewhere in there where we get to watch a character kind of change um, through the course of the story. And I try to do that with Midnight Game with the ensemble, but you don't really have enough time to do that and focus on character and performance as
Mm-hmm.
much. Because the story is more about like hitting plot points and making sure the story, uh, is about scares and all that kind of thing. And I'd rather do something that's more about just I don't know why, but right now Donnie Darko pops in my head a lot. So
Hmm.
something more like in that world, maybe.
I guess there's only one other question I had, and it's kind of more. You said you were you did what was it you said you did before you started doing film?
In terms of other movies,
No, I mean before you started film, you said you were
I
doing.
was software design. I was like a software designer.
So how hard was that jump?
I did it in 2004, right when digital cinema was like taking hold. Like
There you go.
people were moving from film to digital with mini DV and 24p and that kind of thing, and like online editing. Like Final Cut
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
was becoming big, and so everything was going digital. And I kind of jumped in thinking, "Oh, this will be easy," and I was wrong.
It's easy. It's easier. It's
uh,
easier than stitching together film.
Excuse me.
I said it's easier than gluing together film, but still.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I'm old. I'm not. Me and Joe are gonna. We're 40, 47, something like that. So we're a little bit older, and but I made the change as I was coming up on 40, and I wasn't like thrilled with software.
That's awesome, actually.
But I got good at it, and I thought to myself, well, if I'm doing the software thing and I don't like it, and I got good at something I don't like, maybe I could get really good at something I like. So I wanted to.
That's extremely logical there. That's good.
But I think there was some naivety going into it, obviously. But
Yeah.
I think we're getting our legs a little bit now.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, it's
I,
good to see you come so far.
I enjoyed your movie, so yeah, I'd say you guys are doing pretty well.
Really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Really thankful um, for Anchor Bay and the Raven Banner guys too. Um, that's the reason why the film's out there. Those guys.
All right then. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Appreciate you
thank
coming
you.
on. It was good talking to you. And for those of you out there listening, you can find the Midnight Game I found it at Redbox, but you can find it pretty much everywhere, right? I think
Yeah,
it's at most major
Amazon.
retailers. So
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much, and we'll continue to read up and follow your podcast too.
oh,
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And if you're ever in Arizona, let me know. I love horror movies, so.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
And thanks again to AD Calvo and Joe Carano for joining us tonight. They were a good interview.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so basically, I guess that's pretty much it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Justin?
Oh,
Hello? Are you there?
just oh,
Whatever.
I'm here. Yeah, do
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
do 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 do.
No,
No,
but
that was it was really nice of them to come on to the show. And it's always good to hear about how movie making process. At least to me, I love hearing that stuff. But let's
I
see anything.
I
Oh, go
want to
ahead.
thank them for making a good movie out of Redbox, which is
Yeah,
that's really hard to come by. Like especially one that's kind of straight to video. The ones that are good in Redbox are the ones that you know are good because they had a theatrical run. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
to kind of just go to the machine and just pick a movie out that was releasing that week. Thank God, you know it's new and topical, but that was new and I never heard of it before. That to have it turn out well was a nice experience. So thanks guys, I really appreciate that. So anyway, guess that brings us to this. What did you
uh-oh.
learn tonight,
Uh,
Justin?
I think I learned that you can really change your career anytime you want. Like
That's awesome.
that was really cool. Like, I mean, I can totally understand that, I wanting to change into something else. I kind of feel similar ways, but that's just it's cool to see he's doing it.
Yeah, I really admire that. I think it was cool that Joe doesn't really like horror movies. And not that he
Yeah.
doesn't like them, but he's not really a big horror guy. And he did such a good job on the scoring for the movie. So that was pretty cool to hear. You just and I guess it is true. Atmosphere is atmosphere. So you just
Yeah,
kind of figure that
definitely.
out, and you can score anything, I guess.
It's
Any
kind of like
genre.
I just need to know what the tone is and what you're aiming for, and then go.
One of the other things was they're high school buddies, and they're working in movies together now, that's freaking awesome. I like that. I like hearing that type of
That
stuff.
gives me and Don like hope of actually
Yeah,
being awesome.
that would be cool. The but it's really cool, because you have friends from when you're younger, and oftentimes you grow up, you move away, you have a career in totally separate fields. These guys, no, they're still together, still friends, working together side by side. They're working on scoring another movie already, which is great. That's cool. It's also cool the director's has his hand in scoring the films. I think that's pretty cool. But I also learned exclusivity is not that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, it's really not.
It used to be a huge deal, but it's really not that big of a deal when it's a game like this. When it's a
I
game
feel-
like Mario, we know that's not going multi-platform
Yeah.
ever. So if you
I
don't
do
buy
feel
a
like
Nintendo
it's console
system,
wars and high school
Well, that's-
drama all over again.
yeah. Speaking of high school, yeah, exactly. But that stuff's always going to be around. It doesn't matter until consoles aren't a thing anymore in 5 years.
Yeah.
Did I reveal too much?
Uh-oh.
I think I did. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can
Thank you,
find us
guys.
now on Twitter, as well as Facebook and YouTube. I'm just gonna keep playing the song,
Yeah,
but
just do it.
you can catch us everywhere. Is my point. We're all over the internet, and you can follow us on Twitter at whatever podcast. That's WHATEVA, and it's the same across the board. Facebook.com/whatever podcast, SoundCloud.com/whatever podcast. It's unanimous. So we're easy to find. Go like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for all the latest info.
Yeah.
You can catch me and Justin's names on there, so we don't really have to trumpet them at the end of the show anymore. It's fantastic. And
It is.
appreciate you listening, and hopefully you'll come back next week. Numbers look good. Please comment below if you like the show, and let us know.
Come on back.
Let us know what you think. And I guess that's it, everybody. Over and out. Take care of
Gotta be-
yourselves and each other.
Yeah, be good to one another.
Later.